This podcast contains advice that should never be followed, spoilers you'll wish you hadn't heard, and language you wouldn't teach to children.
When you've been cooped up indoors and quarantine bites, it's time for Agony Art. Lockdown Lights.
Welcome to Agony Art Lockdown Lights, the bite-sized version of our Agony Art podcast in which we try to solve your problems, not by using our own brain power, no sir, but instead by telling you how those problems were solved in the great art of our age. And when we inevitably fail to solve those problems, at least you're left with a fun reading, listening and watching list to enjoy in your spare time. My name's Aaron, and I'm an author, and I occasionally read books. And I've got Carl, our fantastic film forager, and Liam, our meandering music maestro, here with me in our virtual studio to record Lockdown Lights, episode 7? Yeah. Say hello, lads.
Hello.
Buenos dias.
Nice. He's still exploring the hellos.
Yeah, I panic and then decide on something. I was going to go Guten Tag, but I'll say that for next week. Spoiler.
Don't ruin it. Yeah. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. So before we started recording, Aaron, you were telling us a little bit about some very interesting emails you have, and I think the listeners need to hear about this.
All right, yeah. So I receive a lot of weird emails, and I don't know why, because as you'll see from the content, it's questionable stuff. And I don't know what I signed up to receive these.
I've got an idea.
But I'm going to give you some examples. So let me just open them. All right, here's a good one. The subject line is, "I'm so attractive. I'm so eager to kiss and lick you." It's from Brandy. Well, the email address says Brandy, right? But listen to the content. "Hey there, my name is Allison, and I am 25 years. Probably the greatest wish is to try out threesome with the girlfriend and you. We still have a number of tempting nude pics together. Anyway, we require you to fulfill this event."
You're obligated.
"Look at us here. If you're attracted with our bodies, get in touch with me, so we will talk about our rendezvous. I'm looking up for your reply."
So how did you politely decline?
She's still looking up for my reply. So I get a lot of these, and I don't know what I signed up to get them.
You get such a
Some
lot
of them say like, so this one's from Jacob, and it starts, "Hello, my amazing dick."
He does know you.
So yeah, that's all I was talking about. Basically, it's just a bit disturbing, really, because they know exactly what I want to hear.
You maybe just have a quick look at my spam, and I've got one. It says, "Greetings. It's really friendly. I had to share bad news with you. Approximately a few months ago, I've gained access to your devices, which you use for internet browsing.
Yeah.
After that, I've started tracking your internet activity. Blah, 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 blah. While gathering information on you, I've discovered that you're a big fan of adult websites. You really love visiting porn websites and watching exciting videos while enduring an enormous amount of pleasure."
Enormous.
Enormous. "Well, I have managed to record a number of your dirty scenes and montage a few videos." He said, "Let's settle it this way. Transfer me $1,650 in Bitcoin, and once this is received, I'll delete all the dirty stuff right away. This is a fair deal when the price is quite low." So, I'm going to send him some money, because it does seem fair. It's a fair deal, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's that. Listeners, if you have any weird spam you want to send us, or you have a problem with spam, write in. So before we begin, we've got to make it clear that we're not really here to solve your life's hardest problems. All of our submissions are certified 100% trivial or fictional pickles, and our advice should probably never be followed. We're really only here to have fun, so if you're having a really hard time, I'd recommend hitting up our website for guidance on who to turn to. That's agonyartpodcast.com. So, with that out of the way, let's get on with it. Here's our first problem today. "My husband and I are having trouble deciding whether or not we want children. We love kids, we could afford it, and we've got a lot of love to give. Without trying to sound arrogant, I think we'd managed to do an adequate job of parenting. We're just not sure if we want to say goodbye to our free, fun-loving lifestyle yet. What can you tell us to help us make the decision? Well, Carl, you're probably the most qualified to answer this one, aren't you? Because you're the only one of us three who has a child that you know of.
Parenting adequately is like it's the peak of what you aim for, I think. So let's
Shoot
be
for
ready.
the stars.
Yeah, it's a good question. It obviously does completely change your lifestyle. Like, we were pretty free and easy before, and now we're chained down.
Completely stressed out.
Yeah.
Permanently.
You can't really go to Las Vegas for 4 days. You can't, unfortunately. So I suppose, just from my own perspective, you have to weigh up the pros and cons, and you don't know that until you have one, which is tough, obviously.
Yeah, it's. I think the biggest problem is that you can't send it back. It's not something you can just try out.
Well, you can borrow my baby if you want.
Borrow my baby.
Or mybaby.com. All right, let's think of a name for this person. Who is a terrible parent, or a great parent, or someone who wants to become a parent in media?
What was that film we did where the parents took a child each?
Oh, Parent Trap.
What's their names?
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan.
Well, she was the kid, but let's use Lindsay for this one, yeah.
Yeah.
So I should quickly... when I was editing the other episodes, I thought, actually, we should explain this every once in a while because new listeners won't know what we're doing. To anonymise our writers, we make up names for them based on things we've seen, read, heard, just to keep our writers anonymous so that they don't get found out. So who's got some help for Lindsay? All right, I'll begin. I think the best sales pitch for having kids is when you see like a really well-behaved, fun-loving and like adorable kid of someone else's. Something, like a kid you would really be proud of, like Carl's kid. So I thought I'd give you some examples of literary children who've made their famous parents proud. Frances Scott Fitzgerald, who was F. Scott Fitzgerald's daughter, was a journalist, a prominent member of the Democratic Party, and she was inducted into the Alabama Women's Hall of Fame. So that's something to be proud of, isn't it? And I like F. Scott Fitzgerald's writing. He wrote
The Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby, Flappers and Philosophers.
What's that book? What's that book that you wrote?
Some examples from the Hugo family. Victor Hugo's dad was a general in the Napoleonic Wars. And Victor Hugo himself gave his parents a lot to be proud of. He wrote a lot of stuff, including Les Mis and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And he campaigned against the death penalty, and he campaigned to end misery and poverty.
Misery and positivity.
And to abolish slavery. He said, "Only one slave on earth is enough to dishonour the freedom of all men. So the abolition of slavery is, at this hour, the supreme goal of the thinkers." So, those are people who gave their parents a lot to be proud of. But I've also got, just to weigh it out, like to balance it out, I've got some cautionary tales. Parents who either regretted their decision or kids who regretted being born. So some cautionary tales. And now I've read this, and before this episode I should have probably looked for a solid source on it. Maybe I'll look one up and put it in the show notes. But I've read that Ernest Hemingway's mum used to force him to dress in girls' clothes when he was a kid and pretend that he was a twin to his older sister. And it really built up a lot of resentment towards her. He was like, as an adult, Ernest Hemingway was desperate to portray like a really macho image. And this is apparently a response to how he was always dressed in girls' clothes, and she made him grow his hair long and stuff as a kid. And Major General Charles Lanham, a friend of Ernest Hemingway, said that he was the only man he ever knew who really hated his mother. And that's not obviously Ernest Hemingway's fault. He was the kid in that situation. But I think the lesson there is probably if you're going to have a kid just to fuck them up with your own neuroses and issues, then maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe you should think about the reasons that you are having them.
Yeah, maybe.
But just to give you a book to read to help you make the decision, there's Apple Tree, Rutters on Their Parents by Lisa Funderburg, I think.
That's a great name.
And it's essays by loads of writers all about their relationships with their parents. Some of them touching and sweet and, lovely, and some of them really angry or regretful. So, maybe that will give you a nice broad spectrum of feelings. And not help you make a decision at all.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think I've got quite a similar take on it to you, Aaron. There's quite an overwhelming amount of music inspired by parenthood or written for artist children.
We've done Eminem, Liam.
Can you think of any? Yeah, go on.
Well, we spoke about cleaning out my closet and all that, didn't we? A long time ago.
Yeah, I suppose that was more about his mum, wasn't it? Than
Luther Vandross starts with my father.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, what a tune. That's an absolute tune.
So these are about parents rather than children, though, aren't they?
Oh, okay.
Father and son.
Yeah.
We spoke about that on a previous
Cat Stevens,
episode.
we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
So the first one that popped into my head was Stevie Wonder's 1976 single, Isn't She Lovely?, which was written for his daughter, Aisha Morris.
Liam, you're forcing Stevie Wonder into the friend of the show section, aren't you?
Yeah.
No forcing necessary.
Liam's weekly Stevie Wonder section.
I mean, just while we're on the subject, did you know that Stevie Wonder is quite a prolific harmonica player? There are a lot of 80s songs, or probably not just 80s, but songs around the period he was active in the music industry, where there's a harmonica solo, and it's Stevie Wonder. And some of the artists are just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that to be Stevie Wonder. Like, there's that Eurythmics one, There Must Be an Angel. Do you know?
That is an absolute tune as well.
Yeah,
and you remember the harmonica solo near the end?
Really? That's Stevie Wonder?
So they didn't know it was Stevie Wonder. They were recording it, and then they're like, oh, by the way, that was Stevie Wonder.
Well, I'm sure
this
they
is
know.
The most... Annie Lennox was like, who's that guy? That is the most interesting fact you have told us on this podcast, Liam. You've excelled yourself today.
My work here is done.
I think you've hit your peak. It's all downhill from here.
Anyway, back to songs about children. Others include, there's a certain couple who are quite famous called Beyonce and Jay-Z. I don't know if you heard of them.
No.
No?
No.
I mean, there's a few years back now, so maybe not. They each recorded a song for their daughter, Blue Ivy Carter. Beyonce's song was called Blue.
You can tell Liam looked that up, can't you? Blue Ivy Carter.
According to Wikipedia. Yeah.
This is
one of the downsides to living under a rock is I had no idea that was her name. But yeah, no, her song Blue was on her 5th album, which was self-titled. I know a lot of artists, sorry, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent again. A lot of artists have self-titled albums that aren't their first album, and it always confuses me a bit.
Yeah, it used to be the convention, didn't it? That it would be your first album or it would be nothing. But now, people just do it whenever the fuck they want.
Do you think
maybe we'll make this the self-titled episode?
Agony art.
do you think that's a sales thing, though? Because imagine if there's just a CD on the shelf. Wait, sorry, we're going back a few years. What do they do these days? They just have...
There are no shelves.
There are no shelves.
A CD on the Spotify shelf.
If you just have the album cover, it's just black with Beyonce in pink, and people see that and they think, yeah, I want to buy that, it's Beyonce.
But wouldn't it sell just as well if you're looking at a CD or a picture on Spotify?
I think we've hit the nail on the head here, which is people don't look at album covers anymore, do they?
No.
Even if it's just a picture of Beyonce, surely they'd go, that's Beyonce, I want to listen to that.
And also...
You've fucked it, Liam.
Yeah.
You told us a really interesting fact 1 minute, and then you come out with your crackpot theories the next.
Liam used to visit me when I had a Saturday job, every Saturday, or kind of every Saturday. And
now you don't even want him to because he's fucked it.
Now he's just a useless piece of shit. And then our routine was go and have a kebab and then go over to Woolworths to look at the CDs. And I never bought a CD, but Liam would always browse. And then
I think I bought a CD pretty much every week.
You did, yeah. And I always wondered what made you choose them. You just looked at them and thought, oh, I fancy that, I'll have a go. Didn't you? So did you buy it, was that based on the cover or the band?
Usually on the artist.
Right.
I bought some of the worst CDs I've ever bought in that Woolworths.
Yeah, interesting.
And when you stopped going there, that was why Woolworths went out of business, wasn't it?
It probably was, yeah. I was single-handedly keeping their CD sales up. Jay-Z also released a single about Blue as well, and that was called Glory. That was released 2 days after she was born in 2012.
Can I just ask, how do you know it's about their daughter and not the band Blue?
I'm pretty sure there's a line in it that says, "You're my daughter."
Yeah, but there's also a line that says, "All right."
All right. And DJ Khaled, 2017 album Grateful contained a track called "I Love You So Much," written for his son Assad, and that was just a handful, but there's many, many more. So
you did say that wrong, though, Liam. It's DJ Khaled.
It's true. And when the baby came out, he went, "Another one."
Well, best fact and best joke ever, all in one episode. Good job, Liam.
We've got to stop making the podcast now.
So did you have a point? Do you want to wrap up?
I had...
Especially since we've just reached our 16-minute limit.
I had a balance as well. I had another song, but we can skip it if you want.
No, go on.
I couldn't find many songs that argued against having children, but I thought there was one notable mention, which kind of popped into my head, which is the Beautiful Salves 1996 single, Don't Marry Her. You know this one?
Yeah, I love Beautiful
Don't
Salves.
marry her, fuck me.
Oh.
So, here we go. So in this song, the singer, Jackie Abbott, paints a picture of a restrictive family life in order to prevent the man she loves from getting married to another woman. And most notably relevant here is the chorus, which you expertly sang just then. But it also goes, when the Sunday sun shines down on San Francisco Bay and you realise you can't make it anyway, you have to wash the car, take the kiddies to the park. And taking the kiddies to the park here is not a good thing. Basically, she's saying they're preventing you from doing what you really want to do. But the two of you just epitomised what I want to talk about here, which is the original lyrics. Because when I looked into this song, I'd never heard the original lyrics, and when I did hear them, I felt like I'd been living a lie. So there's a radio-friendly version, which me and Carl both know, obviously, which goes, "Don't marry her, have me." The album lyrics, as Aaron rightly pointed out, are "Don't marry her, fuck me."
No way.
Yeah.
Are you
so this is... do you know we had that discussion off of the podcast a couple of weeks ago about listening to albums or... listening to, Carl's not an album listener, basically, and we are.
Yeah.
I listen to loads of Beautiful South albums, and you would have known this years ago, Liam. If you had...
See, I've never listened to...
Woolworths, you had bought some Beautiful South albums.
I've never listened to any Beautiful South albums, so maybe that's something I need to rectify.
Yeah, definitely. They're great. I love Beautiful South.
It just changes their whole kind of persona. Like, they seem really wholesome, but they're not.
Well, funnily enough, it's funny that you should say they're wholesome, because they are from Hull.
Well, some of them are.
Yeah, one of my uni friends, who was from Hull, used to hate them. He said, they give Hull a bad name. So he obviously didn't think they were wholesome. I'm never saying wholesome again, I'm saying wholesome from now on.
And there's a similar part in the second verse where instead of the whimsical and what I previously thought was quite a witty line, "She'll grab your Sandra Bullocks," the original line is, "She'll grab your sweaty bollocks."
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was so shocked when I heard that. It makes a bit more sense though, doesn't it, I suppose? I was going to go off on another tangent about radio edits, but maybe we can do that another time.
How long do you think we have?
Liam's got 3 hours worth of content planned.
So, in summary, the music industry tells you that having a child is a wonderful thing. It's probably going to be one of the best things you ever do. But if you listen to the Beautiful South...
it's also a lot of work. Carl, can you help? Because I don't think me and Liam have been a help at all.
I can help, definitely. And what's going to help you a lot is Baby's Day Out, 1994, directed by Patrick Reed Johnson, which I think Liam is a fan of.
What a film.
Yeah, I thought so.
We're going back to the TikTok to get the boo-boo.
Good quote, nice. So, Bennington Austin Copwell IV, otherwise known as Bink, is a baby. He's born, it's a newborn baby to a, well, not quite newborn, but he's born to a wealthy, famous family, and they're about to unveil him with photographers and all that. And 3 criminals called Eddie, Norby, and Vico decide that, they're going to kidnap the baby and charge a $5 million ransom.
Fat Tony, isn't it? And Cypher from The Matrix.
Yeah.
Is that their character name?
It's an all-star cast, this film.
Liam knows it way too well. For someone that doesn't watch films, he knows his stuff.
I've watched this one.
What's it called? I've never even heard of it, I don't
Baby's Day Out. It's one of 1994, so it's like the Home Alone era kind of slapstick comedy.
We've got it in a box set with Dunstan checks in.
Keep that, because that's going to be a collector's item one day for like 90s. So they kidnap the baby. Starts going wrong quite quickly. The baby's a bit of trouble. He's very independent. And they decide to try and get him to fall asleep. They're going to read his favourite book called Baby's Day Out. But Norby falls asleep instead, and the baby escapes through a window. And the criminals pursue Bink through the city. And basically, Bink crawls into numerous dangerous situations, into traffic, into a guerrilla enclosure. And obviously the criminals go after him and end up getting run over and attacked by a gorilla and whatnot. And Bink's parents hear of multiple sightings of him all over the city and realise he's following the Baby's Day Out book. He's doing all the things in the book. If you were thinking this is far-fetched, this is where it goes a little bit far-fetched. Bink leads the FBI to the criminal's apartment, who find the book there to prove that they kidnapped him, and then they arrest the criminals. And so Bink saves the day. The film ends happily with Bink being returned to his parents and him falling asleep reading another book, Baby's Trip to China.
Yeah, which they never made.
I know, yeah, you think you're
biggest crime in Hollywood history.
Is it like Dread, where they just didn't get the audience figures to fund the sequel, but there's like a cult following who have campaigned for it ever since?
Well, funny you should say that, because it has a huge cult following in Southeast Asia. Roger Ebert, have you heard of him? He's a very famous film reviewer, or film critic.
Definitely.
He went to Calcutta and he said, I asked if Star Wars had been their most successful American film. No, I was told it was Baby's Day Out. And they remade it in 1999 under the title James Bond. So yeah, a little bit of a tangent, but so what is the point? Are you asking? Do you cry?
I was just going to say there was a cancelled Super Nintendo video game of it as well. Can you imagine? That would have been brilliant.
Have you just Googled this and found that out, or
yes?
Are you literally that obsessed with the film that you knew that already?
No, I did Google it.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, so the point of the whole Baby's Day Out and how it could influence your decision is that babies are independent. Bink travelled New York on his own and solved the crime and ended up coming home. So you can still live your life.
Yeah, if you have the baby and then you think, I can't be asked to look after this, it will look after itself, so you don't have to worry. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just set the ground rules. Like, listen, we like our life. You do what you want. We'll meet back for tea.
I'm really worried about Carl's child now.
Or maybe you're basically making the same point as me and Liam, which is that, they can really make you proud. That baby really made its parents proud when it foiled 3 criminals and had an adventure. So I think we've given a broad spectrum of answers there. I don't think we've got an answer really either, have we? You've got to make the decision yourself. No one can tell you what to do.
Definitely what you shouldn't do is be unsure and just say, fuck it, let's do it anyway.
Yeah. But at the same time, people say you're never really sure. You just have to do it and then you find out. But as I say, you can't send it back at that point, can you?
ranger came a-ranging to Old Town one fine day. The townsfolk came to meet him, they heard what he had to say. He said, I hear this town's got problems, some outlaws on the run, and I've come to solve these problems with my problem gun. Word soon got to these outlaws about a ranger new in town, and they soon came out of hiding to put this ranger down. They laughed when they first saw him beneath the high noon sun, but he soon stopped them from laughing with his problem gun. Problem gun, problem gun. Yeah, the ranger solved their problems with his problem gun.
Well, we didn't really help Lindsay, but we can move on to problem 2 and see if we can help someone else. I've been going to the gym on and off for years, and I'm taking my first real stab at becoming a regular. I really want to use free weights, but the area is always full of guys wearing Gold's gym vests, other brands are available, with their pecs spilling out the sides, which puts me off. Can you give me any suggestions which will help me stride boldly into the free weights area? Are you two gymmers? We never really talk about the gym, do we? We're not lads.
No. Thing is, my pecs spill out of my Gold's vest too much, so I don't really like going to the gym. I'm a wannabe gymmer. Like, I do... The thing I lack effort.
I'm more of a home gymmer. I don't get on with these extortionate gym membership fees. So what I have been enjoying lately, the Nintendo Switch's Ring Fit Adventure. I don't know if it's actually helping me get fit, but it's good fun.
How many calories do you burn strumming a guitar, Liam? Rigorously.
Probably not that many. I don't know. I've never measured it.
Well, before we begin, let's think of a anonymizing name for the person who's a huge gym goer.
Let's pick them up. Arnie.
Oh.
Mr. Universe many times over.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
It's strange how all of the Mr. Universe winners come from Earth, isn't it? The other planets
we
need
actually
to step
dominated
up
it for years, haven't we?
Liam, since you bring up your ring in front of all of us...
Not for the first time.
I hope you keep it clean after a workout.
Why don't you show us your art as well?
I wasn't going to go first because I didn't want to tread on any toes, but since you've asked me so politely, I'll. I think it's quite clear what's needed here. To reach your desired levels of physical fitness, to become the greatest version of yourself that you can, you need a training montage.
Trying hard now.
I didn't know it had lyrics.
And the Agony Art rendition of Gonna Fly Now is available on the Agony Art CD in Good Woolworths.
Is that the song you were going to say, Liam, or have you got a whole list of training montage songs?
I mean, let's not second guess too much here. No, I've got a few. So I wanted to ask you, Carl. We established a few weeks back that you have a personal top 10 for films. Does that include a favourite training montage sequence anywhere?
Does it have to be a training montage?
Not necessarily. Any cheesy montage with music would be fine.
Well, my two favourite montages are, if we're going to talk training, it's got to be Rocky IV, where he's in the in like Siberia training, and there's a juxtaposition of him training in the woods, like cutting trees down, then Ivan Drago in the gym taking steroids, like mechanically training, like robot versus man. He even grows a beard. It's amazing. Sylvester Stallone. But one of my favourite montages is Push It to the Limit in Scarface, where he's like making loads of money for being a drug dealer, basically.
Yeah, I remember that. I love that film. So good.
But I think the best one, I might be throwing your toes here, Liam, is South Park's sports training montage.
Yes, I was going to mention that because that whole episode. I first time I heard that was in because they reused it in Team America, didn't they?
Oh, did they?
That was the first time I heard it. But then I got South Park seasons 6 to 10 on DVD, and I saw the Aspen episode, which is where that one comes in, and it's just a really funny episode in general. They all go to a ski resort, and
That's it, yeah.
and Stan is like properly forced into this generic 80s sports movie plotline with like this older teenage kid comes along on skis, and he's like, Stan Marsh? More like Stan Darsh. And he's just calling him Stan Darsh for the whole thing.
It's a great idea. Watch montages.
Yeah. To be honest, I think we've pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about. I don't know if it was the first one, but definitely one of the most iconic is the original Rocky with Gonna Fly Now, which is what we started singing originally.
The very first underdog story, yeah.
Mm. And then kind of the rest of the films, I don't know if these tracks were used in the training montage sequences, but they're kind of the main tracks in the films, like Eye of the Tiger, obviously, in Rocky 3. And Survivor did Burning Heart for Rocky 4 as well, didn't they?
Yes,
which is a bit of a
great
tune.
Song.
Another idea from music, Liam. A lot of rappers have hype men, don't they? You could take a hype man into the gym with you. Yeah. Just to cheer you on.
I've kind of got the same vein as you, Liam. I've listed a few motivational movie quotes to kind of inspire you and make you feel good about yourself, and also make you think the other people are, they're just dicks. Right? So we're gonna have a little pop quiz and see if you can guess the film, which you're unlikely to, I think, but we'll try.
Yeah.
So, first one: do or do not. There is no try.
Karate Kid.
Nope.
Jedi Karate Kid.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's Yoda, isn't it?
Yeah. Empire Strikes Back. Yoda. All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost.
Lord of the Rings, isn't it?
There is. Very good, Liam.
I was going to say, I do recognise it, but
I don't think it's in the film. It's from the book, I think. What we do in life echoes in eternity.
Karate Kid.
It's Gladiator.
What a film. I watched that a few weeks ago.
It's a great film, isn't it?
So good.
They're making a sequel,
What could the sequel be about?
We'll take this offline, but I'd encourage people to look it up, but it's really weird. Like, really weird.
Why ruin things?
I know.
Is it Gladiators?
Ridley Scott is directing it, though, apparently.
Yeah, it's got
Jet Wolfman.
and Wolf.
Can you get this one? After a while, you learn to ignore the names people call you and just trust who you are.
3 Men and a Little Lady.
Shrek.
Ah.
And last one, off Liam's theme. It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Karate Kid.
About a Boy.
That's from Rocky Balboa, Rocky 6.
So you're recommending all of those films?
Yeah, watch Shrek.
Just watch them all one by one and then go to the gym.
Well, do you know what? Even Shrek is a good one. He kicks ass, doesn't he? He's the man.
Yeah.
Or the ogre.
That's true. And he has the wrestling montage, doesn't he?
He does.
Where he beats everyone up. Yeah, so you're both going for the angle of motivate yourself before you go. I think I'm going to basically go for the same thing, but mine isn't like a training montage or even someone who's especially good at the gym. But before I start, what we worry about these people in the free weights area in their vests with their pecs. Because we think they're judging us, don't we? We think that they think that they're better than us. And we don't want to feel judged while we're at the gym. But I want to give you a quote. Olin Miller said, "You probably wouldn't worry about what people think of you if you could know how seldom they do."
Oh.
So we all worry about what people think of us, like these people in the gym, but they're probably not even thinking about us.
I have this issue, with my hair, because you can't, obviously we're on the radio, if you like, but I've got hair at the front, but none at the back.
We're on the wireless.
We're on the wireless. And so I'm like, by keeping it all, should I just shave it all off or whatever? But then the people can be looking at me and go, there goes a bald guy. But then, will people do that? Probably. I don't do that. When I see someone, I'm like, oh, bald man. Dude,
oh my god, it's a bald man!
So it's definitely all me and probably not anyone else, So
yeah, I agree with that quote. It's hard to apply in your real life, though, isn't it? It's a good quote because I do think it's true. I rarely judge other people in the street. I just, people pass me by and I don't even think about them. But in your head, you're thinking, oh my God, everyone is looking at me and worrying about me because the world revolves around me.
Says the guy that went out in a mohawk for a few weeks.
Yeah.
But that quote is often misattributed to the novelist David Foster Wallace, so that's why it's relevant, because he paraphrased it in Infinite Jest. But it looks like the quote was originally Olin Miller. But anyway, that is not even the point I was going to make. If you need an example of someone with total confidence for you to strut into that free weights area, then one of literature's most in-your-face characters can provide one. And I'm talking about someone who always stars in remakes of baby-related films.
Baby's Day Up?
James Bond. Yes. Take Casino Royale by Ian Fleming as your example. So James Bond, if you haven't seen Casino Royale the film or read the book, here's the synopsis for you. James Bond is tasked with beating Le Chiffre at Baccarat to bankrupt him and get him in trouble with his paymasters, Smersh. In the film, it's poker, isn't it? It's Texas Hold'em. But in the original, in the book, it was Baccarat.
What is Baccarat? Is that its own game? I've never heard of it.
It's a game invented by Burt Baccarat.
you have to sing his songs while you're playing it.
I don't know what Baccarat is. I've never played it. But anyway, James Bond goes in, all guns blazing, balls out, and he's sure that he's going to win. And then he loses all his money in the first round. So the CIA bail him out with more money, and he starts to win. So even though he failed immediately at the first hurdle and had to be bailed out, he now thinks he's the king shit of Fuck Mountain. He thinks he's King Dingaling. So he doesn't even remember his initial loss. He's just thinking about banging Vesper Lind, because he can't imagine a world in which any woman he passes in the street doesn't want to ride him like the Tower of Terror at Disneyland Paris.
I never realised this when I was younger, but James Bond is just the world's biggest arsehole, isn't he?
He's shit, and he's a bad spy as well.
Yeah.
He never gets the job done. Someone always have to... Yeah, everybody knows his name. And he always has to be bowed out by someone else. It's usually the Bond girl, although they're like misogynistic objects of sex in these films. They actually do most of the work for him. Anyway, after he wins the tournament, he's feeling like, king of the world. And then he gets kidnapped and tortured by Le Chiffre, who wants his money back. So how does this untouchable Lord of Espionage get
There's a great scene in the film, isn't there, where he's sitting on a chair with no bottom, naked, and he's whipping him underneath. And he just laughs and says, you'll die tickling my balls, or something like that, doesn't he?
I do love the Daniel Craig films. We watched all the Pierce Brosnan ones recently, and they're just so cheesy.
Yeah.
But I do like the Daniel Craig ones. So anyway, how does he get out of this situation? Is it with his immense skill that he's so sure that he has? Nope. It's just blind luck. Some assassins storm in, kill everyone, and leave him alive just because they weren't paid to kill him. That's it. They're just like, you're not on the list, so we're not going to kill you. So even that, he doesn't get out of that with his skill, but he's still just so confident. So what makes him so confident? What makes James Bond tick? Well, first of all, it's by putting himself above half of the population of the world by default. Here's a quote from Casino Royale. "These blithering women who thought they could do a man's work. Why the hell couldn't they stay at home and mind their pots and pans and stick to their frocks and gossip and leave men's work to the men?" So he automatically thinks he's above all the women in the world. So what about the rest? What about all the men that he thinks he's better than? It can't be because he's better at his job than all of them, because as we've just established, he's shit. So the conclusion that I've come to is just that James Bond is completely deluded. He's living in a world of his own. He thinks he's the world's ultimate lad, despite all evidence to the contrary. So what's my advice? Delude yourself. Fake it till you make it. Just be more Bond, but without the misogyny and losing all your money on card games. But the rest of it, just, take Bond's advice and convince yourself that you're the best bloke in the world.
I don't know if it was you that told me this, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that the whole reason John le Carre made George Smiley was just because he was very upset with how Bond portrayed the Secret Services.
Yeah, I think I've read that somewhere. So don't be misogynistic, but be deluded. It's my advice. Another couple of suggestions that I had for you, Liam.
You always got suggestions for Liam. Leave him alone.
It's because we've been listening to Roy Orbison recently, and I didn't realise how many absolute tunes Roy Orbison wrote. But he had severe stage fright, and he wore dark sunglasses to overcome it. So the suggestion there is to wear dark sunglasses at the gym to hide behind and just get your confidence back.
While singing Pretty Woman.
Yeah. Oh, what a tune. But the other one, Liam, was Survival by Muse, which is probably the worst suggestion of the thing. So that's a good one to wrap up with. It's the 2012 Olympics song, which goes, "Race, life's a race, and I'm gonna win. Yes, I'm gonna win. And I'll light the fuse, and I'll never lose." So some of Matt Bellamy's greatest lyrics ever.
It should be "Light the Torch," not the fuse. But he doesn't run with
that's true. I'll light the torch and sit on the porch
while my opponents get scorched.
Yeah. Unless anyone wants to interrupt me with any other wrap-up points, I think that's all we've got time for this episode. So, listeners, check out the episode notes or agonyartpodcast.com to find links to all the media we mentioned, and for a link to the Agony Art Spotify playlist, which is a place where you can find all the songs. If you have a problem you'd like us to attempt to solve, you can reach us on our group Instagram and Twitter accounts at Agony Art Podcast, or on the submissions page on our website. I want to thank our resident Agony uncles for their contributions. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Liam.
You're welcome.
And thank you for listening.
Muchísimas gracias.
Oh yeah, because you you came in with the Spanish, so you've got a and thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more problems to muddle our way through, and more entertainment for you to check out. See you later.
Bye.
Adios.
But I'd suggest keep it light, 'cause their advice can be shite, and they won't be held liable. Oh no, not at all. Not here at Agony Art. Agony Art. Agony Art.